We are live and in living color.
That we are. That
Yeah.
we are. So then, yeah, let me copy this real quick. I'm going to share a link. See what's going on out there. Backlash 2020 is over. Corey and E-Money are together. Breaking quarantine rules.
Breaking quarantine out amongst the public. The 17-time champion is back.
See, now, Chris, I'm letting you know this now. This might be the last time him and I will ever do Facebook Live together because right now we're in my basement and Ed is quickly learning how awesome my man cave basement is. And
Now he
he's
doesn't wanna
clearly messing with all my stuff, which I told him, like, rule number one was not to touch anything. And he's touching just about everything.
I am the 17-time world WCW heavyweight champion.
This is why we need to quit giving you a mic. Cutting you off.
I mean, it is what it is. History is history.
Just remember not to break that. I mean, it did cost me some money, and
And that was back in the day.
Hey, yeah, that was old school, man.
Which was a Wednesday, by the way.
A Wednesday?
Back in the day.
Back in the day on
was
a
a
Wednesday.
All right.
So, yeah. So, like I said, I think if you want to, Corey, you have it up. You want to listen, see what everything sounds like?
Oh, on the thing. Let's see.
Just double check while we give everyone a minute, see who's going to show up, and we'll get rolling here. For those of you who have shown up on time, we appreciate you. Corey, you have it up. You want to listen? It's where you get to see how the sausage is made.
Oh, on the.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, it sounded good. So I'm not hearing any repeat or anything like that.
From
a
quality perspective, we are achieving amazing work right now.
Yeah. So we can, well, at least we can wait a few minutes. Did we put it? Oh, we just said after Backlash.
Yeah, I didn't schedule it this time because last time we ended up being 30 minutes early because I was like, 9:30, and then the thing ended at 9. So this time I was just like, I sent out the thing that said after Backlash we'll go live. As soon as we went live, it popped a thing up that says we're live. So now if you go to our actual page, it showed up because it showed up on mine. I can see it right now showing that we're live. So we'll figure it out.
Okay. It's the Jesus. I keep seeing that belt. You know what? You're not going to have that on the whole time. This is going to be distracting.
I am the 17-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion.
Count it down. Count it down.
You don't understand this.
1 time, 2 time, 3 time.
The 17th time was in 1976 in the Philadelphia Civic Center. I had a lot of hair back then.
Yeah.
Well, this is why we can't do these lives, because it's like it's all this funky stuff that you're doing. See, this is why we got what we call Morlocks in wrestling. This is the definition of Morlock.
Yeah, well, we are in a basement surrounded by wrestling.
We're doing a podcast, and once again, for no reason whatsoever, he's deciding to have a belt on, just like the other Morlocks at wrestling events.
Yes.
Wearing belts when they don't even need to have the belt at the wrestling event.
Actually, this is a championship title. It is not a belt. A belt holds up pants.
Well, okay.
It's very true. Very true.
And Chris is drinking whiskey. It's a miracle. We got technically sound stuff happening right now on the interwebs.
We'll find out. We'll find out how technical it is.
Okay,
yeah,
so
and Ringsiders wants you to show off the
Ringsiders
belt.
wants to see the belt a little bit more. It's the big gold from the WCW days. So, I mean, we apologize for the little glare to it.
Yes,
it's the lighting in my man cave. So,
and well, it's the first time down there now. You know where the light is and what's going on.
I see. I think I've got a good little reflection thing going on.
That glare is going to be annoying.
No, it's not annoying. This is the glare of gold, baby. Gold.
You hypnotize people.
Yes.
Hypnotize people. They'll need some gold. All right, we're going to get rolling here because Backlash just ended 2020. So we are going to do this. You guys ready?
Well, you know what?
Ready, willing,
We're
and
gonna
able.
wing this. We're gonna see what happens when we do stuff live. Things will probably go wrong, and we'll just have to keep going.
I think you should be more of an optimist myself.
Yeah, everything's going to go right. Everything's going to go right. All right.
Everything's going to go fantastic.
Well, because I'm going to put this out on the feed later, let me do an introduction so I don't have to re-record it later. You guys ready?
Ready.
Yes, let's do it. I was gonna
All
see
right.
this chair if you need to see.
Welcome, all you YESINITES, to 123 Yes Wrestling. We are live on Facebook to talk about Backlash 2020. Did we see the greatest wrestling match ever? Verdict's out. We might. Oh, I see nods. You see nods because we are live on Facebook. Corey and Ed join me from Corey's basement. How we doing, guys? The man cave. Sorry, the man cave.
Yes, we are live in the Corey Wrestling Man Cave, which Ed has now had quite a few hours of enjoyment down here. And as some of you that just got on a second ago, he's messing with my stuff, which I don't know what your guys' rules are when it comes to your wrestling collection. But for me, it's like I have a no-touch policy. And clearly, this man is breaking it. It is jeopardizing our very close friendship, but you know, we'll see what happens.
He looks on the verge of just like making sweet love with that title.
Well, my point is that I've won the championship 17 times. The last time being in 1976 in the Philadelphia Civic Center. I think I have every right to hold my championship belt.
And keep in mind, Ed was born in the 80s, so do the math.
That is hearsay, fake news. I was not born in the 80s.
All right. So, we just finished Backlash. You guys broke quarantine to watch it together. We are hanging out on Facebook Live. What'd you think of the show before we get too into what I gotta say?
Well, I mean, for myself, there definitely were some matches that I found myself really enjoying. Obviously, we're going to get into the details of it, but overall, I think the pay-per-view was a good one.
I agree. I enjoyed the show. I think they are, slowly figuring out some new ways to make these empty arena shows a lot of fun. So, happy to break it down with you guys today and all of our viewers on Facebook. Thank you guys for joining us. But, overall, a very good show, in my opinion.
So it sounds like there's love to be brought. So before we bring that love, just want to hit everyone out there who's joining us on Facebook Live. Wonderful. Thank you guys for coming out here. Hopefully we get a decent crowd going on. Secrets are being told, as you can see, as I'm doing my due diligence here. But make sure you guys check out the show. It's over on anchor.fm. You've found us on Facebook. You know where to find it. And we link the show usually once a week. Our hits, our subscription, and when we drop a show kind of changes here and there. But make sure you like, subscribe, and follow us. And we're always looking for reviews. How many stars are we looking for?
5 stars. 5 stars. 5 stars.
That's right. 5 stars 3 times. Go to your 3 favorite places and review us with 5 stars 3 times. And once again, the Scotch, and I got that out perfectly this time. So, awesome.
Well done, sir.
Let's jump in because we got a lot to talk about here for Backlash. But I'm not sure if we're going to get him this time. But normally we like to start the show with the sits and fits from Mr. Fitness. Not sure if he's going to bust out of the quarantine bunker, much like Ed busted out.
God. Oh, my God.
Wannabe gym rats. Yes, it is I, live and in Technicolor. Or is that even a thing? And I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, it is I, Mr. Fitness, for tonight's Facebook Live Sits and Fits. Ladies and gentlemen, we saw something. It was something that was amazing. It was quite possibly the greatest thing in sports entertainment. Yes, I'm talking about Backlash, and I'm talking about the greatest wrestling match ever. The match had all kinds of stuff happening. The match went on what seemed to be forever. And there were moments that were just, you have no words to describe the feeling that people were experiencing. And ladies and gentlemen, that is why we are all wrestling fans, is for these moments, for these experiences and these feelings and these moves and this wrestling. And ladies and gentlemen, I gotta say it now. Yes, Mr. Fitness is declaring that the greatest wrestling match was indeed the Viking Raiders versus the Street Profits. They lived up to the hype. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can now go to sleep sound, knowing that you got the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see the greatest wrestling match in history. And that's how I'm going to close this off, ladies and gentlemen. That is this week's Mr. Fitness's Sits and Fits, reminding you, don't sit, just stay fit. What?
But I'm speechless. I didn't think he was a real person, Chris.
What? Wait a minute. So does this mean we have finally answered the question that all the YESINITES have been wondering? That in fact, Mr. Fitness is not Eddie? By God, folks, we solved the mystery. Mr. Fitness is not Ed. I rest my case. I'm done.
Well, at least we figured that out. It's similar to how we figured out just who was the real Undertaker at SummerSlam 1993. Mystery solved.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We learned tonight that Mr. Fitness' favorite match and the greatest match ever was the Street Profits versus the Viking Raiders, a match I didn't even realize was on the card until the show started. So it's crazy that came out of left field there. Corey surprisingly returns. You all right?
Well, man, you got to have bathroom breaks. I mean, you never work this into the schedule, so it's like, sure, I got to go and, I
do put together a hell of a schedule, and yeah, I don't leave much room for bathroom breaks.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're here. Enough screwing around. We're here for Backlash 2020. My fuzzy pen just made it into the camera. So, pre-show got the U.S. title. So, Apollo Crews versus Andrade took place on the pre-show. Did you guys get a chance to check that one out?
I did not.
Unfortunately, I did not either because the pre-show was, missed. But I was very excited to see that Apollo Crews retained. One of my fears with this Apollo Crews push was that he would not see his first title defense in lights go very well, but I am happy that it went well for him. Looking for feedback from anybody that is watching about the match itself. Is it worth checking out? Is it something we should, dedicate our time to? But I am definitely happy Apollo got the W.
Well, your answer is solved because I watched it. I watched the pre-show just in case there was a match, and I watched it. And we had Apollo Crews versus Andrade, and Apollo Crews pretty easily dispatched of... easily dispatched, sorry. Ringsiders is making me laugh, crapping on Mr. Fitness. I love it. I love it. Mr. Fitness, he'll grow. He grows. He grows on you. All of a sudden, you're just sitting there and you're just like, what? Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things, and you're like, what is this? By the third time, you're just like, oh man, how did I live without this? Apollo Crews versus Andrade. Like I said, Apollo Crews really easily dispatched Andrade. I think if they would have been on the main card, I think they would have put on a hell of a better match. I think that Andrade kind of they phoned it in, I think. I mean, it was a solid match, high action. They work really well together, but you can tell that they didn't seem like they really wanted to give it their all because they were on the pre-show was my impression of it. At some point, Angel Garza did jump up to try to create a distraction to get Andrade the advantage, but Kevin Owens was doing commentary for this match, so he jumped up and stunned Garza on the floor, and that allowed a distraction, so Andrade was distracted, and all of those good things.
And I wouldn't be surprised if part of the frustration is over the fact that it's like they ended up on the pre-show, but yet they gave a lot of TV time to this.
There was a lot. Yeah, this was Raw for the past month. Right. It was building towards this storyline. So then for this them to get that kind of attention. It's kind of a shame. I think there were other matches that should have been on the
Chris,
pre-show if they really wanted to.
Chris, the most important thing was Selena Vega at ringside for this match.
She was, and she had a rose in her hair. I think she did it for you, and you missed it.
Perfect. Then I will definitely give it my time.
You missed it.
Oh, right. It's worth checking out for Selena Vega at its own. So then we started the card proper, Backlash, the greatest wrestling pay-per-view ever. And we opened with the Iconics versus Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus the champs, Sasha and Bayley. They had an interesting match. We'll just go through. Sasha and Bayley did retain their championships tonight, so spoilers. But that's what you're here for. You want to know who won. The match was fine. I'm not sure what you guys thought, but Billie Kay was looking really rough. Her timing was off. The way she threw punches, like Peyton Royce was really bringing it, and the timing and the smooth. And then once Billie Kay got in, I really lost all attention in this match. It really just, she was trying, and I don't want to take anything away from her. She was really trying and busting her ass to try to keep up with everybody, but she really looked a step behind everybody. But this match was a solid opener. Nothing really crazy happened, and Sasha and Bayley won, which they did announce that the winner was going to face, who was it? Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Nox on Wednesday's NXT. So we do already have an NXT or a women's tag team champs match this week on NXT. So it's very interesting. We'll see Sasha and Bayley on Wednesday. Gentlemen, what did you guys think as I just rambled?
One of the things I wanted to talk about right off the bat is, at this point, you know, in my opinion, Bayley and Sasha, they've put a ton of time invested into the storyline of if they or will they break up. At this point, I think it is a good thing to have the tag championships on them. You can now elevate the story, tell it for a longer period of time. I really think they're going to try to hold on to the blow-off of eventually them breaking up for a long time now with this title reign. So overall, it was a good match. I also noticed the same thing about the Iconics. My feeling is a very entertaining tag team. I just want to see them get more solid in the ring. But, you know, hey, overall, it was a nice little opener.
Yeah, I think it was solid. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I think a six-woman match is already difficult enough because you got so many players involved and everybody's got to get in their spots. So, I mean, I think that already made this match at a disadvantage. You know, Ed and I were talking during this match about this whole thing with Sasha and Bayley and prolonging, you know, the eventual breakup. And, you know, he was talking about even it going to Mania. And, you know, him and I kind of talked about it. And I said, well, if they keep the belts on them, I was like, you know, the tag belts, I can see how they can prolong this, you know, much longer. You know, if you take the belts off of them, though, I don't think it can make it to Mania. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing this go longer. Now, obviously, anyone that does listen to our podcast knows I am a mark for the Iconics. So to say I was disappointed that the Iconics did not win is an understatement. But, you know, hopefully they'll get another shot in the future.
I'm sure they will. It did look like the Iconics were getting close. I did imagine you sitting in that man cave getting super excited. They looked like they were about to pin. And then Alexa went for her move off the top rope onto one of the Iconics, unfortunately. And then Sasha Banks came in, rolled up Alexa Bliss, and that was the end of that match. So it was a solid opener. It had some high energy. Like I said, they all gave it their all. Like I said, my only real thing was Billie Kay, unfortunately. But I know she's trying, so I don't want to shit on her too hard because I know she was busting her ass. Then after that, they did show an Extreme Rules preview. So Extreme Rules is the next WWE pay-per-view. It's going to come on July 19th, which I thought was interesting because it's actually the night after Slammiversary. So we got actually a big wrestling weekend with Slammiversary and Impact Wrestling doing their big things with who's showing up. You know, they have their claiming a bunch of the fired WWE superstars are coming to Slammiversary, so that's going to be kind of a big wrestling weekend, it looks like, here in the middle of July. So I thought that was interesting that they picked the night after Slammiversary to, I don't know, I wonder if it was on purpose. Then we moved on to good old Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus, and this match was opened up with the piss test heard round the world, because they opened this show, which then I thought was interesting because my brain goes, I feel like I've seen this before. And then I went on the internet and did a little bit of Googling, as we all want to do from time to time, and realized that that exact segment that we saw on SmackDown was done in 2006. And I found a Cage Side Seat article that showed a video side by side of Shawn Michaels forced to take a piss test in the ring and throwing it in Vince McMahon's face, saying the exact same line that was from Robin Hood Men in Tights. It's better to be pissed off than pissed on. So I thought that was really weird, but this is kind of a dirty angle with Jeff Hardy and his DUI and his leaning really heavy into all this stuff. But we ran into Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus. What'd you guys think of this match?
Well, from the storyline standpoint, I mean, yes, of course, and everyone's got their feelings about whether this type of angle should have been done and because of, Jeff Hardy's past. But, like I said before in previous podcasts, Jeff Hardy is in a position where he can turn down any ideas that are thrown. He's just in that position. So I take that aside, the delivery of everything is good. I mean, yeah, of course, Sheamus is really digging in deep at him, but that's how you perform. I mean, if you're going to do this, you got to do it right. So from that aspect, I've been very impressed with Sheamus's performance on this. Now, and then also, it creates interest into the match itself. So I thought the match was good. Two guys that clearly know what they're doing. Ed, I'll let him go into details, but he brought up an interesting point about what he would like to see in the future with Sheamus, which I do agree with. If you want to,
no, I think overall this was I think the story was executed well. I hope the fact that Jeff Hardy had to give his okay to something like this means that this time we don't get excited for a Jeff Hardy run and then get disappointed. However, I just want to say Sheamus, this guy looks like he's in the best shape of his life. He's back in the character that got him success in the first place. And I think based on his history in WWE, he's due for at least a couple more runs. And I think hopefully this is the start of a good run for him. This is the guy who surprised everyone back in 2010, taking the title away in a table match versus John Cena. And I mean, since then he's stayed relevant as best as he could. Had a great tag team with Cesaro, with the Bar. I mean, the guy stays relevant, and he just looks like right now he's ready to do some damage. And I hope that's exactly what happens.
I can't remember the name of that team. What was that? I was going to say, don't forget that foreigner team he did, but I was going to say Un-Americans.
The League of Nations?
League of Nations. Don't forget about the League of Nations. Yeah. Wasn't he champ? Didn't he get the championship as leader of the League of Nations?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to look up the history, but he might have.
I'm pretty certain he did have the championship for a brief period during the League of Nations era.
As Chris Googles right now.
Yeah. No, I don't care enough. The story of this match was that Jeff Hardy is old, and can he still do it? So that's the storyline we're going. And Jeff Hardy got his ass kicked this whole match, just pummeled. Is what happened to Jeff Hardy this whole time. Sheamus pretty much dominated him outside of flurries, and the commentators were very big on just, does Jeff Hardy have it in him? Does he have more? What can he do? And it was very just like, all right, I get it. And then they were working on over the knee, and Sheamus ended up picking up the win, which I think he actually needed to pick up this win. Jeff Hardy obviously doesn't need a win at this point in his career to be relevant. Sheamus, if you want to build him to anything, he needs to beat people like Jeff Hardy. So I think it was a good move. During this match, I did have a question that I was curious about, and I wonder if you guys have an answer for me. But I did space out, and I wondered, where does Jeff Hardy still get Jinko jeans from?
Oh, that is
like he's worn those same jeans for like 30 years. Can you buy those? Like, is it the same pair? He has to have more.
Say, coming from someone, and I'm gonna hate to say this out loud, especially when we're on Facebook Live, but coming from someone that has held on to jeans much longer than I probably should be, I would not be surprised at all if those are in fact jeans dating back to when the Hardys, first got going in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Or maybe he bought like 25 pairs of the same Jinkos back in 96, 95 and just, put those extras away. That would be the smart thing to do. If you really believe in the look, you got to do it. That's why I have so many members-only jackets. You believe in the look, you keep it going.
And I'm going to think that probably what Ed is saying is probably true, but I want to believe what Corey's saying is true because I want those genes in the Smithsonian. Like, they just deserve to be there, and I think that that's where we're going. Now, while we're on this, before we move on from the Jeff Hardy-Sheamus match and this whole storyline with DWIs and all of this stuff, now there was a story that came out this week from Sportskeeda.com that reported that the part of this reason that this storyline took place with the DUI and the, last week they had Jeff Hardy and he was unconscious and covered in alcohol, and they were doing this really kind of questionable story. Now, they reported that the point of this storyline was to actually blend in Google searches. So if people Google search Jeff Hardy DUI, the WWE storyline comes up and not his actual upcoming court case. So now I was curious with the idea of this, is this sketchy or genius? Or how do you, is this I can tell this is the first time you guys have seen it.
Before you even said that, that never crossed my mind, and now that you've delivered that information to me, I consider that absolute genius. Pure
it's
genius.
Sketchy genius. I mean, you have to put sketchy in there because, come on, that's dirty. That's dirty. That's a dirty move right there, man, of just like, oh, we don't want, you're covering up his mistakes and you're covering up him, doing.
But does anybody, do people not really know? That's the thing.
I would say on the scale from sketchy genius to Lanny Poffo actual genius, this is probably somewhere at the Lanny Poffo level. I think it's great.
I appreciate that you reference the genius because I'm such a fan of him too.
He's great.
And he had your back. I think you've been hanging out in his man cave too long. You guys are on the same page. I don't like it. All right, then we saw a preview, which we haven't talked about yet on the show, and I need to know, but they showed a preview for this year's wrestling game, WWE 2K Battlegrounds. The Rock looks like a smooth baby. What do you think, Corey? You buying this game day one? Are you going to keep your trend going? I mean, you've been singing the praises of 2K20, the only person in the world that loves that game.
Because the game is actually good, okay? I don't care what people say, and you know what? If people want to make a comment, please go make a comment on our Facebook Live comment section. WWE 2K20 is actually a decent game, especially after they fixed up some of the glitches. Now, moving forward, because I don't want to hear Ed make little remarks because we're right next to each other and things could go wrong. In terms of the Battlegrounds game, now here's the funny thing. When I first saw the preview of it, absolutely hated the idea. But at the same time that I'm seeing it, I have my son sitting next to me watching the same preview for the game. And to no surprise, guess what? He likes it. He was like, oh, we need to get that game. And I'm just thinking in my brain, there is no way in hell I'm going to buy this stupid game. It's too childish for me. So, but
and I said, Dad, please just let me use my own money to buy this game. That's right. I am his son.
No, because I wouldn't let my son even hold that belt. Okay, come on. Let's get that straight.
Well, if it makes you feel better, Corey, if history shows 2K had NBA Playgrounds, which is a very similar game, and it was a discount title. I think it only cost $20. So chances are you might not be out $60 for Battlegrounds. So
okay, well that's good.
Just curious. We haven't talked about it on the show. Just curious of what you thought with all of that. All right, then we moved on to Asuka defending her Raw Women's Championship against Nia Jax, the Destroyer. She injures most girls, and here she was trying to take out Asuka. How? Yeah, you guys just. What did you guys think?
You know what? I'm ready, and Ed, you can chime in at any point. Please do so. I'm probably going to get some heat for this. So people that are listening and want to comment, you can trash me. Please do so. But all this heat on Nia being a sloppy worker or injuring people, I'm going to be honest with you. It takes two people to do a wrestling match. I'm just saying. So it's like if you're getting a move from Nia Jax, you have to make sure you're also doing your part in terms of taking the move.
So Kairi Sane is like 100 pounds lighter and got picked up, and she has no control over where Nia Jax puts her. So how is she supposed to not get thrown into the turnbuckle?
If you look at the footage when she went into the stairs, I'm sorry, she could have done it. Man, and I know I'm gonna get heat for this, so I apologize.
I'm gonna give you heat for it.
Yesinites, I apologize. We can have some fun with debating if you would like, but. No, bottom line is, like, when I looked at it and I told Ed, and I know he probably doesn't agree with me either, but it just, there was things she could have done to help help soften that blow. And I just feel like she didn't do it, at least from my vantage point. Now, I could be wrong. Like I said, we're all
I think
friends
she
here.
should have used more of her body, including her neck, to stop the blow to the neck. That's what I think.
But
use your body, absorb.
But here's the thing. So it's like, but Nia Jax, okay, so, some injuries happened, but, okay, we got to take a negative and turn to a positive. It's like it only creates more of her being this monster force, which obviously, based off her size, you might as well take advantage of. Do I think she's a decent wrestler? Yes. Is she the best? No, by far not. But she's not meant to be. She's one of those big, giant people. They're not supposed to be running around doing Hurricane Radas or anything, but they're supposed to look destructive. So once again,
yeah, but there's a way of looking. Part of professional wrestling is to look destructive without actually being destructive. And the fact that on Wrestling Observer Radio yesterday, I think Saturday, they said there's actual petitions with the superstars trying to get her fired because no one wants to work with her because she's so dangerous.
I just think, maybe they could come to her, create some communication amongst the talent in Nia, because, obviously, I'm not saying that she's 100% safe. Obviously, there's certain moves that, based on the look of it, she probably was a little careless. Okay, we'll communicate with that and let's try to work with it and see if we can move forward in a positive way. Because I just don't want to see the aspect of this talent being wasted, because you don't get too many big women that really look like destructive forces. You're not going to see a ton of, Nia Jax or Nyla Roses or Awesome Kongs in the world. That's why you got to utilize them when you have them.
Well, she needs to watch some Nyla Rose and some Awesome Kong matches and figure out, because Awesome Kong did some crazy shit with, I blanked on her name. I knew it a second ago. Gail Kim. Yeah. And they had amazing matches back in TNA. And there was a vast size difference, and they never hurt each other as far as I'm aware. Now, someone might be able to look up a thing, but I don't remember anything of Awesome Kong injuring people. But we're here to talk about Asuka versus Nia Jax, which they actually had a solid match. I'm not gonna crap on it too much. They had a good match. I thought it was nice to see Asuka get so much offense. I was worried that Asuka was going to get squashed. I liked Asuka getting an opportunity to be dominant and to look good. I was very curious of why the storyline of this match was why Asuka didn't earn the championship, when I know she didn't beat Becky, but she still won the Money in the Bank, which was, climb the corporate ladder. I mean, that wasn't the easiest match in the world that she did win. I mean, she did have to knock Baron Corbin off a ladder to get it. So I didn't really understand the storyline of just that she didn't earn this match, or the championship. So I thought that was kind of a weird storyline, but we did get kind of a screwy finish because it was a count-out finish. So Asuka won. It looks like they're going to continue this and head towards Extreme Rules, I'm assuming.
Yeah, obviously it's going to continue. I was actually telling Ed when the match ended, I'm not a fan of those kind of finishes at pay-per-views. But obviously, if the story is going to continue, the finish is acceptable for what it is. Now, I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on this. This is just my thought. I actually, clearly Asuka is the face in this match, and I don't know how I feel about it, because I feel with this Asuka character, which, by the way, I love. I love what she has done during this unfortunate time that we're living in, this pandemic. But that character she established during this time, I feel, is a better heel versus a face. So I just had mixed feelings just looking at her in this match, and obviously she's being presented as a face.
Absolutely. I liked it more. I was very nervous about this match, and it turned out to be at least entertaining. I got through it, and I only cringed a little.
My only thought, which is something I'm sure a lot of wrestling fans are watching, that are watching the product now in the, during the pandemic era, is, this ended in a double count out. And there's absolutely nothing we can do from really a reaction perspective other than complain about it online. So it just, begs the question, how many of these kind of finishes are we going to get? Because there's really no fear of a crowd, completely losing their mind over it. So it was something that I talked to Corey about. I was like, wow, this was a pretty decent match that ended in a pretty uneventful way. And I'm sure a live crowd would have not been happy with it, but because we don't have a crowd, it does allow the story to kind of continue at their own pace, which is pretty much how every story is going at this point. No one knows if any of these people that are currently in their positions would be actually over with a live crowd, but here we are. This is basically what WWE is thinking is the best move, and we just have to deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We'll see where the story goes and how we proceed. Hold
on. Before we move forward, we have a listener that's referencing my like for the Iconics and they're mentioning that they didn't know. So this is John, one of our listeners. Is that a bad thing? Someone want to help me out?
I'll put money that he's being sarcastic because you gush on them every episode.
Because what is wrong with liking the Iconics? I mean, they're beautiful, and you know what, Chris? Screw you and your whole timing thing with in the match. Okay, you know what? Everyone has an off night, but everyone needs a little bit of Iconics in their life, and well, just saying.
We all want to be iconic. That's what we strive for as human beings. So, I can't hate on them.
Sorry, didn't mean to take the sidebar, but,
Hey, sidebars are what happen when we're live.
That's right.
All right, then we moved on to Braun Strowman defending the Universal Championship against Miz and Morrison. They did add a stipulation in this handicap match that stated whoever gets the pin would be Universal champ. I was going to say U.S. Universal champion. So they couldn't do Freebird rules. They weren't both going to be U.S. champ as they've built this up until today. So then that was going to obviously factor into the finish, as it did. I did enjoy this. I haven't watched much SmackDown or seen much of this build for this feud. Watching Friday SmackDown or the last couple with Miz and Morrison playing pranks on Braun Strowman. The music video, that was the first time I saw one of their music videos, the hey, hey, ho, ho thing, and that kind of cracked me up. I got to have your sarcasm font, John. Sarcasm font. Sorry, I got distracted by the chat. But I enjoyed Miz and Morrison doing, and what this turned out to be, it was mostly a one-sided affair, really. I mean, it was Miz and Morrison doing quick tags, tag teaming, really keeping Braun running and always never knowing where to look, and he was always twisting around and really looked like it was going to be Miz or Morrison winning this title until it was the last second when it looked like Morrison was going to actually win it, and Miz pulled him off and then freaked out and threw him back on like, oops, I'm sorry, like his instinct took over. But I actually enjoyed, as goofy as this match was, it was a nice little break after the opening couple matches.
And the other thing I think it really brings out in regards to Miz and Morrison is just how entertaining they are. The chemistry between them two is phenomenal. I'm going to be honest with you. I like this run with them better than their original run because I think that they've learned over time just how to embrace their characters in a slightly different way. When they first started, they were a little more on the serious side. Now this is more comedy, but I gotta say though, to a casual fan, my wife right now thinks Miz and Morrison is the most entertaining thing in wrestling. And the music video thing that they did at the beginning, after their entrance, she thought was hilarious. We actually thought it was hilarious too. And I think this is really just giving us a sign of good things to come for them. Obviously, they'll eventually split and go their separate ways, but I definitely, and I know one of you might have said this, but I definitely see Miz getting the big title again.
I hope so. I've been wanting the Miz to get the championship or get a serious run for years now, and I'm still waiting for it. But yeah, I'm really glad. I know when Morrison first came back to WWE, we were very like, ugh, why did he pick WWE? And then all of a sudden they just threw him in a tag team, and he didn't have a very big reunion. He didn't really come back. He didn't come back super. He didn't get the big welcome back. He didn't get a lot of stuff. He kind of just was like, hey, John Morrison's here on the bump. And everyone's like, hi, John Morrison. And then to get put back in a tag team with The Miz, you're like, all right. But now seeing the two of them, he looks like he's having fun. And I just think that it was a really good move for him to I think he fits in well, and it's probably making some good money to be there. But this was a solid match. You guys enjoy this match?
I enjoyed it. I think
Braun did win. Braun did win, if I didn't say it earlier.
Braun did win. I don't take anything away from Miz or Morrison. I think it's good that they got this opportunity to get back together because, quite frankly, before this, I was a little worried for both of them. So at least we got, a pretty entertaining program, and who knows what they can do with it for now. But I mean, overall, it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and then looks like we'll move on to the Fiend and Braun for Extreme Rules, I'm assuming.
Probably.
Probably. All right, then we moved on to what really was at least the live main event, because everything else after this match was taped previously. But we had Drew McIntyre defending the WWE Championship against Bobby the Almighty Lashley, which this match was scary as hell, man. Those two guys like clobbered each other and then tried to like pick each other up and throw each other around like they were cruiserweights, and there were some near like misses, like catastrophic. There was like catastrophic moves that happened
I have to bring up the moment when Lashley tried to put McIntyre onto his shoulders in like a fireman's carry, and all of a sudden like lost balance and he started to fall head first. And thankfully, McIntyre, being the professional he is, was able to flip and at least make the best out of that. But that was scary because I know we both reacted.
Yeah.
There were several spots in this where they were trying to flip each other around like cruiserweights, and I know both those guys can do it, but it was kind of scary. But this is a hard-hitting, slabs of beef. A lot of beefy boys in this ring doing their thing, man, and it was slobber knocker.
But I enjoyed, and I was telling Ed while we were watching it, I actually enjoyed the way the match started. I liked that Lashley got an opening advantage, and then suddenly Drew, as soon as the bell hits and the match officially starts, Drew is now the underdog. He is at a disadvantage, and this was a nice showing of his ability to overcome the obstacle, as what WWE often likes to do with their babyface, especially babyface champions, is show them struggling and at a disadvantage, and then figure out some crazy way to overcome it. So for two big guys, I mean, to put that kind of match together, I mean, it was great. It really was. I was entertained.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing but love for MVP in this whole thing too. This guy, I mean, he is proving to be a pretty awesome manager. It's literally saving Bobby Lashley right now. I mean, Bobby Lashley just got done fighting in a Universal Championship match, or I'm sorry, WWE Championship match, but. Was it scary? Sure. But these two guys, definitely brought their A game. This is a match that a live crowd absolutely should have seen. And, I really hope that Bobby Lashley does get a chance to continue this like character evolution and maybe stay in the title hunt, in the future. But second, point is, just about Drew, how good he's doing as champion. I will be very upset, and I think a lot of people will be very upset if this title gets taken off of him before crowds return. Drew absolutely deserves to have a crowd behind him with that championship, because this whole no crowd run that we've had since coronavirus, I feel he's done an incredible job, and he absolutely deserves to be in front of a crowd again.
Absolutely.
But does he deserve to lose the belt before the crowds and then regain it with a crowd? Should they go that route, or should the crowds come back and he just walk out as champ?
I'd rather have him walk out as champ, only because I think the people that have been watching that are there and hopefully in a good amount, when we can actually get back into the arenas, will really show him a sign of respect. That's my hope, at least. So
yeah, I'd rather him just have the belt come,
I would too,
out to the crowd, because
just asking.
Everyone knows how WWE is with champions. It's like once you lose the belt, they seem to never give it back, or it'll be years before.
Kofi.
Right, exactly.
Drew and Lashley, as we said, scary, hard-hitting match. Everyone came out looking good in this. Lashley looked like a beast. Drew McIntyre looked like a beast. Lana came out as predicted, as I'm sure many of us know, to no surprise. Lana came out. MVP was like, "What are you doing here?" She shook her finger at MVP. She climbed up in the ring to yell at the ref, distracted Bobby Lashley, who ended up getting Claymored. And then he lost the match, which luckily they didn't no-sell the Claymore, which was nice. So Drew McIntyre did retain against Bobby Lashley, but did set up potentially for further feuds and kept everyone looking strong, I thought. And then if you are interested in any more learning about MVP, I did write an article over on CBR.com and posted to the Facebook page about MVP in this current run, how he got here. A lot of it was speculation heading into this match, but it's still a good read because, I wrote it. I think, that's all you need to know.
I'll read it, Chris.
Thank you. I like those clicks. That's how I make that money. Then, guys, I don't know if you guys are ready for this. I don't know if you guys are ready. But we did have Mr. Fitness's favorite. It just depends on how you felt about the Street Profits versus the Viking Raiders, a match I didn't even know was on this card, but they were defending the Raw Championship, Tag Team Championship. It was coming up next, and then we cut, and it was the Viking Raiders and the Street Profits, and they were fighting outside, and they were beating each other up and beating each other up. Then all of a sudden, the Street Profits grabbed golf clubs. And then the Viking Raiders grabbed an axe, and then Ivar grabbed a bowling ball, and then they were having flashbacks of all of their things that they've been doing. Then they just kept fighting, and they kept fighting out there, and this all of a sudden became one of the pre-tamed cinema matches, and there was music, and everything was going, and they were fighting out in the parking lot, and they were just beating each other up, and they were fighting in this weird, hallway with, kind of those banquet ceilings over the top, and then, Montez Ford took a bowling ball to the crotch, and they just were hamming up everything that they've done up until this point with their anything you can do, I can do better storyline. And they were hamming it up till they got outside, and then all of a sudden a bunch of motorcycles pulled up. And they got off, and they were ninjas, and Akira Tozawa took off his helmet, and he was leading a band of ninjas. And then all of a sudden, the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders turned into the Viking Profits, and they had a giant kung fu movie. The music changed to kung fu music. They did sound effects, the whole thing, and they did a kung fu battle against Akira Tozawa and his band of ninjas. And then when they were all dispatched except for Tozawa, and the Viking Profits were getting ready to attack Akira Tozawa, another ninja came up, a giant man that had a sword, and everybody's looking up at him, looking ridiculously, to the point that Ivar used the force and made a turkey leg come out of the trees, and he caught it. And then he held it, and he took a bite, and then he was getting ready to fight this giant ninja, and then they ran away. And this thing was just chaos. And they just ran around. They never made it to the ring. This was just, this was all pure comedy, but it was entertaining, I thought. You guys might have hated it out there. I'm seeing smiles on your faces, so I'm sure you guys didn't hate it. And we know Mr. Fitness didn't. What'd you guys think, man?
I will say one thing, and one thing only, and that is, Ivar, the ladies' man.
Yeah, they did the whole flashback of every woman in every one of those bits saying, Ivar, he's kind of cute, and then his partner, not so much. Eric, not so much, and he'd always smile and then frown, and smile and frown.
Yeah, and Chris, I have to applaud you on your recap of that, because you even helped me remember some things I forgot happened in there. I mean, of course, the ninjas thing will always stick in my head, but how could you not be entertained by it? I mean, take whatever they've done prior for the last few weeks, put that off to the side. It's how do you not get entertained when you're in the middle of this, what looks to be a backlot type brawl match, and all of a sudden you get motorcycles and these ninjas coming out, and then suddenly it becomes like a kung fu movie, and suddenly the tag teams are now one unit. Man, that's what I'm telling you. And I think, Ed, you've referenced this clip, but this is Vince McMahon sitting at his desk, about to take a swig of water, saying, "We make movies." That's what this is. This is a pure example of it. And you know what? I mean, given what they've done to build this up, this makes sense that this is what that match would be. So, and I've told Ed during this, I was like, this is what's going to get remembered during this particular time period in wrestling. This no audience thing is going to be the cinematic matches that ended up getting created during this time.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, it was a silly match. It was fun, but hey, it also adds a lot of layers to the Viking Raiders. Now are you got them as these badass Viking guys, but now you're making us kind of laugh and understand that they're kind of funny, and that's cool because now you can do a whole bunch of different stuff with both the Street Profits, the Viking Raiders. Akira Tozawa is now the leader of the Yakuza. I don't know what's going on, But it's entertainment. I was entertained. I was not on my phone the entire time when this was on my TV, and that's usually how I grade if I'm really being entertained by something, is if I'm really just watching it the entire time and not looking down at my phone. So kudos to them for putting it together.
And I had no idea it was coming. Like, it just started, and I was like, what is this? And then you kind of realized after about 5 minutes what you're watching, and then you just kind of are like, all right. And then next thing you know, you're smiling, and it was cracking me up. It had moments, and I enjoyed it. We didn't get a finish. I'm assuming we'll get that tag team championship match tomorrow night on Monday Night Raw, and we'll talk about it on the next episode of 123 Yes Wrestling Podcast.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. That's a lot to unpack there.
It was a lot to unpack, but we did it. We did it very well. All I have to say is ninjas can really ruin a night.
They can.
That cracked me when Samoa Joe said that. That cracked me up. Ninjas can really ruin a night.
Oh, by the way, quick thing. Samoa Joe on commentary, I think, has been working out very well. So I want to give him props. I've been enjoying his work so far. I think he's fitting in very well onto the team. So, Joe, I know you probably don't listen to our podcast, but if you do, great job.
Chris with his negativity. Nope.
No, Samoa Joe is not one of the few people in our Facebook live chat. I would put money on it.
Oh.
But he might, he might listen to the show. Samoa Joe, listen to the show. Then we were here, the greatest wrestling match ever, that, as I told Ed before we went live, I cracked up laughing because when the match started, ding, ding, bell started, Todd Phillips goes, "This is the greatest match ever." And then the match started. And when the match ended, the last thing you heard on that pay-per-view was Todd Phillips going, "Was that the greatest match ever?" And that was just a hilarious bookend. Like, he started that match, because that match went 45 minutes. This was previously taped. Reportedly, they taped it before In Your House last Sunday, when the crowd would be lively. They taped it before the show went live. They had a week to go over with the edits and the tapes to make sure that they could get the best match out of these two. I do think that they did get a solid match out of them, even though it did go 45 minutes and did not need to. That's my opinion. I don't need 45-minute matches to be the greatest. That's not a sign of a great match to me, is how long it goes. It's once, as Ed said, the engagement. Am I looking at my phone? Am I spacing out? Am I paying attention? As I have notes of when I spaced out during this match. But that is once again me. But I thought that was comical that it started as being the greatest match ever and then ended with a question of if it was the greatest match ever. There's a lot to unpack in this one, but just overall, did it deliver?
Well, I think it delivered as a very good match. It's this whole thing about the greatest wrestling match. I mean, Edge has already went on record saying it's like you can't do that. It's so subjective. The greatest wrestling match. It's like, can anybody ever achieve that? It's like, it's not possible. So, but in regards to the length, Chris, I'm gonna kind of give you my vantage point from it, because yes, it was long, but if you go back, and I know you won't, but if you go back and try to look at this match in terms of like parts to a movie. Because this was done in plays. What's the term that they use in plays? Acts.
Yeah.
And if you try to watch that match in terms of that mindset, look for acts, you will see that this match was put together in the form of acts. And with that aspect, and that means that this match was done in a very storytelling aspect. And no surprise that someone like Randy Orton or even Edge would be telling more of a story in this wrestling match. We all knew that this wasn't going to be an AEW high-flying Pentagon Jr. or the Young Bucks doing all kinds of crazy maneuvers. That's not Randy Orton. It's not Edge, and that's not how they tell stories. But if you go into that, and anyone that's listening, I encourage you, go back into it and try to watch that match in the form of look for acts and try to see where one act starts, when one act finishes, and see when the next, because I think it delivered. And in terms of the attention, now I'm going to say it, today's audience, the problem is we're not conditioned to handle that kind of a length of match.
Unless you're a New Japan fan, because then you're conditioned.
Right.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think people need to go back and just like you need to get your mind in the right place to be able to sit and watch it. Like I said, if you're someone like Ed, you pop on your phone, you're gonna miss really the magic that I feel Randy Orton is as a performer, because everything he does is very strategic and timed and done very well. Yeah, you guys can make fun of me, but you know what? In many aspects, this was a very good match.
No, and it was. And here's the thing that I also said to Corey and Chris. I know we talked about this too on the podcast. This is what they can be doing with every wrestling match right now if they want to. They have the ability to edit and create any kind of match that they want to create. They've also, I noticed, we're pumping in a lot more sound. We talked about that into this match. There was a lot more different camera views. And that's, I'd say, the biggest takeaway from this match is I want more of this style of editing for my wrestling matches, because you hypothetically could make anybody be a 4 or 5 star match because you've got the time and energy to make cuts and actually stage the match out to be as good as you want it to be. So I don't think this match would have been as good as it actually was if it was a traditional wrestling match in front of a live crowd. I think we probably would have said, oh, okay, a decent match, but nothing crazy. This match had the ability to be as good as it was because WWE had the ability to make it that good. And they need to do that with all their matches at this point.
Now, I'm going to step in because now I agree that the editing and that aspect is what made this match definitely good. However, I do caution, because I think, Ed, what he was saying is that WWE needs to do more of that. I disagree. And the reason why I disagree is eventually we're going to go back to having a crowd. So this kind of stuff can't work. Now, even if you decide to every once in a while to do a cinematic match, do it only once in a while, because guess what? The people that paid tickets to go to the actual show, a cinematic match isn't going to be, it's not good at the arena, because they're going to have to go find a screen somewhere in the arena to be able to watch it. So I don't think that this is the answer moving forward. This is the answer currently right now.
Right.
But I worry if we do it too much, then the audience is going to want something like that, which isn't possible once we get back to arenas that are filled with crowds.
That's true.
Yeah, I agree. As we said, this match was pre-taped, but it did work very well for them, and it did assure that they at least got a solid match in there. I enjoyed the classic entrance with the Madison Square Garden microphones, and they had pre-recordings of the Fink doing both of these superstars' entrance, because obviously Fink did do entrances for both of these guys, so Howard Finkel got to do this, which had a nice big match feel, as well as a little bit of nostalgia and a little bit of emotion attached to it, which was really cool. And then, as Ed did mention, they did pump in a lot more crowd noise. So there was a lot more just the roar of the crowd, booing, cheering, and then they blended it in with the NXT superstars that were in the actual crowd to try to make it work. There were moments where I got distracted, where I would hear Samoa Joe talking, but then the camera would show Samoa Joe and he ain't saying nothing. He's just sitting there staring. So that threw me off, but that's just me and my obsession with watching the background of things. I watch extras in movies more than I watch the actual actors because it's just fun for me. So that's just my problem. But this was a solid match, and as Corey said, it did go in acts. So we did have kind of, like I said, that opening that was very wrestling mat based, just kind of trying to get that edge and feeling each other out. Then they had the whole middle where they were really digging in and they were really trying to hit their big moves and finish the match. Then they kind of went into this, when they were heading into their finish, they were doing this thing where they were like really going through the generations. So then it was like, all right, we're from here, so let's start hitting moves of people that we wrestled back in the day. So let's do the Three Amigos.
And
let's do the Olympic Slam.
Right. And can we talk about that for a second? Because I actually was telling Ed when I noticed that they were starting to do the finishing maneuvers of past talent. And I said to him, I was like, what's interesting is they're doing finishing moves of not just past talent, but like the really good talent, some of the best in the business. And maybe that's another element to add to this match. If they're trying to create the greatest wrestling match, why not incorporate the moves of some of the greatest wrestlers to have performed in WWE?
but do you think that that's a bad thing because of the fact that they were technically then no-selling these finishes?
I'll admit, inside of me, I did think that the fact that they're kicking out of everybody's finisher, it does diminish that finisher, and so in that aspect, I agree with you, Chris. But I think their intention was, let's incorporate some of the best moves of some of the best talent. I don't think that that's what they were thinking, but I can understand why you think that way.
It was just something that popped in my head.
You know that I know that you know that I know that you think that we thought you thought that way.
Exactly. You know how to get to my heart, buddy. And then then the storyline turned into Edge's neck. How can he handle all of this damage? Can he handle this? Is this going to break him? He's not going to make it. How deep will these guys go? And they kind of went there. We had blood in this match that I could not tell if it was real or not because it seemed like it came and went. But at the same time, once again, if this match was pre-taped, who knows how the order in which it was taped versus how it was edited. So it was hard to tell, but there was some color. There was some color that we did get in this match, which was interesting because it's been a while.
Yeah.
And then we came towards the finish after near fall after near fall after near fall. Orton ended up picking up the win with a leg slap.
A leg slap. Yeah.
He did the punt. He did the punt on Orton after a low blow. So Edge put Randy Orton in the anti-venom, I guess, sleeper hold, and then Orton kneed Edge in the crotch, and then punted, which just made me laugh because one, I always like seeing the punt because it's just vicious, but two, it made me laugh because of the fact that Randy Orton gave NXT In Your House TakeOver last week such a hard time for leg slapping, and that's how he finished the greatest wrestling match ever with a leg slap.
Which is about right. That sounds about right. That's Randy Orton to a T.
I love that you're digging into, his Twitter comments that he's posted recently. Nice little touch to that.
I found it funny.
But
it was very fitting.
Let's look at the finish. Bottom line is Orton winning.
He needed to win.
Yes, that was a needed win, and it just goes to show this obviously is not done. And I'm excited about that because then it's like, okay, what can the next match be? Because I do think the next match will not just be a normal one-on-one. I think it'll be something unique, and I'll be excited to see. But
it'll be a Bash at the Beach match.
Maybe. So, but it's good stuff. And then I'm just hoping, I don't know if you were reading stuff online, but the possibility Edge might have gotten injured in the match. There's word going around that he might have tore his tricep. But I looked in that match. Now, granted, that match was edited, so if he did injure himself, they would have edited.
Who knows?
But I didn't see anything in the actual match that showed that. But yes, there's something floating around today saying that he was injured.
I hope not either. So now, do you think this counts? Because Edge signed this new contract, this extension, or this new thing, and it was supposed to be 3 matches a year with several appearances. Do you think that he's 2 down? We get 1 more Edge match this year, and that's it? Or do you think that they made exceptions or offered him more? Or what do you got, Corey? Dig in.
I'm gonna be honest with you. This could be it for the year. Think about it. Rumble.
Yeah.
You can count Rumble as a match. So, I mean, in theory, the 3 matches. Now, my opinion is they should do a SummerSlam match. So, and given, how big SummerSlam is, and if hopefully we can get a crowd, I'm not sure if that'll be possible, but if we do get a crowd, I definitely can see SummerSlam being his final match of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling he'll still have maybe 1 or 2 more matches, but at the same time, it could be it. I think if you ask Edge, I think Edge is also somebody who wants to get back in front of a live crowd. He didn't come into wrestling to not have that crowd around him, so I think, if we do find ourselves in situations where crowds return, I feel Edge will be at that show somehow. So that's just my thoughts on it.
Yeah. But overall, Backlash, the greatest wrestling match ever. it was a solid night. I was entertained by just about everything that happened. I'm a mark for wrestling pay-per-views, man. I love just wrestling pay-per-views all over, and especially when they go out there. I've enjoyed them adding the crowds and the hockey arena feel with the boards, and really kind of overall just kind of been enjoying just wrestling and have a lot of love for the product.
Yeah, like I said.
Enjoyed Backlash. I think we all did.
I enjoyed the show. It was a good show. This was an amazing live experience that we've had talking about Backlash. But
Backlash.
I think, because of this backlash of a backlash pay-per-view, it is time for us to let these fine people nestle all snug in their beds and have visions of WWE sugar plums dancing in their heads.
And once again, I apologize to the listeners for having to endure for the first time Ed and I being in the same room during
at least we have it on video.
A recording. Clearly this was a mistake, and right now I'm wondering where my belt went because now it's missing. Thanks a lot, Ed.
I was a 17-time champion.
So
he gets to take it home. But yeah, that is our Ninjas Ruin Everything Backlash reaction and review, talking about what happened. We will be back this week with episode 71, I believe, of 123 Yes Wrestling Podcast, where we'll dig into some of the news. I know we had some stuff with Paul Heyman and things that we need to dig into, and we will do that here the next episode. But we're glad for everybody who joined us on Facebook Live, everyone who's listened. Hopefully I'm able to push this out to the feed here tonight. And hope everyone enjoyed Backlash 2020, the greatest wrestling match ever. If you did or didn't agree or disagree, shoot us an email at 123yeswrestling@gmail.com. Leave us a voicemail over at anchor.fm, which is linked through our Facebook and the podcast services. Make sure you rate and review, follow, and like. And gentlemen, it's always a pleasure
when we get together.
I need to find a new hobby.
Take it easy, guys.
See ya.